destroyed by World War I reparations, whereas the French, who were utterly annihilated by World War I, also had Nazi propaganda that stands to this day, making them seem like war savages that put savage reparations on the Germans. But for some reason, if it's a good narrative that the Nazis were this unstoppable war machine,
this depravity will end.
The truth of the matter of World War I that everyone seems to forget, the French countryside and half the fucking French country was utterly annihilated. The French manpower was decimated.
I remember when I put them.
And the reparations put on Germany were absolutely tiny in their effect. And it was France, rather, that was annihilated by World War I. So when World War II rolled around, the French, who were annihilated and had no real way to rebuild from it in a mere 20 years, just died. Germany, who... What did Germany lose in World War I? They lost the Alsace-Lorraine, they lost the Danzig Corridor, and they lost...
Do you hear that?
Some reparations. The reparations, they quickly stopped paying. And then that was it. The French had their industry absolutely just massacred. I mean, the French industry was gone. The French only lost 4% of their total population. No big deal. Interesting that whenever Germany gets fucked, they're always back as the most powerful country. Almost as if Germany didn't actually get fucked by World War I. Almost. It's almost as if the imagery of the downtrodden Germans defeating everyone despite the odds is long-lasting Nazi propaganda. Almost.
The beyond is waiting. Strive to meet it. I am to bury you.
Blood. An ally has been slain.
Feel its
An
pull.
enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Yeah, a little bit of an issue there, Flat Mouse. A little bit. Jesus, that jump is far.
What's one more grave?
That ghoul jumped him from the fucking moon.
Wake up. You have a new task. The mist comes for you. I am the first and last of my
Wait, that hit him? Huh. I looked away because I was like, oh, I guess it missed. And then it did not miss, in fact.
to life.
Okay, he's got that double longsword that's making me think, boy, I don't want to get hit by that double longsword.
I go wherever souls are adrift.
Suffice it to say, World War II rolled around. The French were like, hey, let's stop them here, or 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 here. And the world power's like, nah. And then the French got invaded, the Germans were at Paris, and the French were like, you know what? Fuck it, we out. We out.
Remember my name, for one day I will not.
Now, to be fair to the French, well, okay, let's not be fair to the French. To be fair to the Czechoslovakians, The Czech actually had quite a good army and defensive placements, but the Western powers were like, what's a little bit of Rhineland? And Czechoslovakia was like, well, fuck it, we're not going to do the fighting then. That's kind of what kept happening, is everyone kept ditching everyone the Nazis attacked, and then the people the Nazis attacking were like, why should we all have to die?
Ally has been slain.
And so they weren't the ones to fight them.
You are beyond saving. All things fade, but me. I shall
Whoops.
perform your rites.
God damn it. Am I dead here? Well, let's see. He can't ult because he's dismounted. So I can use this time to heal up and push the lane in.
Take what you will.
And potentially...
Beautiful dream is life.
Nah.
I am no time.
Well, why does no one like the French? That's an interesting question. Probably because the French tried to invade and destroy all of Europe like a mere 200 years ago. And then before that... Fuck you, maiden.
The dead shall forgive me.
And then before that, the French were bullying the shit out of everyone for hundreds and hundreds of years.
The ruins of these isles rise to smite you. Ours is a fate worse than death.
French during the 1400s, fuck you, we get to do what we want. French during the 1500s, fuck you, we'll do whatever we want. French during the 1600s, fuck you, everyone has to band together to have any chance to fight us. France during the 1700s, if everyone bands together, we'll still probably draw it out. French during the early 1800s, fuck it, we'll just take all of Europe combined. French during the 1900s, why does no one like us anymore?
The dead have not forgotten. You are to die. You decay and do not know it.
An enemy
I don't have my
has been
ult,
slain.
but he doesn't have his ult. But I think 4 minions.
Holy mark of
Oh shit.
to rise again. Breath. The dead don't hear you, no matter how you cry.
God damn it. The difference is that the French didn't just try to take over all of Europe, they very nearly succeeded. And not only that, they were fighting the entirety of Europe multiple times. People think of, oh, the only time France fought all of Europe was in the Napoleonic Wars. Well, first off, the Napoleonic Wars were like 20 years of the French kicking everyone's asses. Second off, the French were fucking up with Europe a long time before that. I mean, in the 1700s, there was the War of Spanish Succession, wherein the King of Spain tried to leave his country to the French and his inheritance. So all of Europe banded together to fight them, and you know what they did? They drew it out to a draw. That's all they could accomplish. They drew it out to where the French king was like, fuck it, this isn't worth it. They didn't even win. It was like all the Germans combined with the English, combined with several Italians, and they drawed it.
Everyone I knew is dead. How are things with you?
Neato.
Better than this.
Where's Portugal and all of that? Portugal's like, hey guys, have you ever tried having an empire across the seas? And then everyone was like, yes, we'll take yours. And Portugal's like, no, it was our idea. What do you... No.
These isles. How they sleep. The isles were once paradise. Now they're a prison.
If France is so great, why does France have shit ideas compared to those other countries? Because in that game, the French got their ideas first, and their ideas were actually blatantly overpowered top tier at the time, to the point where several people considered France so game-breakingly overpowered that the game was barely playable in multiplayer, so they had to buff everyone else's ideas, and then they also nerfed the French ideas. In EU4 1.0, France was basically game-breakingly broken. Shockingly, a historical game of France beats on everyone doesn't end up being very fun to play.
I shall perform your rites. Our souls are a small price to
An enemy
pay
has been
to
slain.
cleanse this land.
Shut down.
It fouls upon touch. Rest in your rightful place. To death.
How can you counter Yorick? Is Kled, you need to beat him up early on. I'm not saying this guy didn't try to beat me up early on, but I'm just saying he failed.
What I do
Turret plating will soon fall.
is a horrid piece of it. Even a monk needs bread and water.
I played Vicky too. It just wasn't doing it for me. Like, it didn't do it for me. If he ulted, that would have worked.
Death is not always a release.
An ally has been slain.
By the way,
Dirt.
I'd like to remind everyone that the French were the only people who at the end of World War I wanted higher reparations on the Germans. Everyone else was like, nah, the Germans are cool. They won't try anything.
A curse upon the ground.
Shockingly, when the greatest land power in the world barely gets touched by a war which torches all its possible rivals, they do pretty good.
One more step toward the end.
I'm just gonna go get my Trinity, big power spike.
Your turret has been destroyed.
This journey is long. Take what you will. Flesh that will soon find them. The bells toll.
Maiden. Fucking Maiden AI. Could you please stop your autism for like 2 fucking seconds?
It hurts to remember.
An ally has been slain. Killing spree.
From the
Reparations were too high and Germany couldn't pay them. Well, then go with the French idea of splitting Germany back up into parts.
I shall perform your right.
The only reason there were reparations to begin with is because everyone was like, no, the Germans deserve to have their own country. Which, whether or not that's true, the French idea was, well, maybe they shouldn't.
Watch them squirm. If they could see what I see, they'd long for death. The Isles remember. This mist
I'd like to note,
comes skin.
in a morbid twist, the French idea ended up happening after the end of World War II anyway, when the Russians quietly genocided the Germans out of being a giant country. And everyone else in the world didn't
Most
look.
life is fleeting.
And, well, they did look, they just didn't care.
Your turret has destroyed a turret.
Tears of life preserve me.
There's never a genocide of Germans? I mean, whether or not you think it's deserved, whether or not you think the Germans had it coming, I think there definitely was.
Searching
And denying it is a bit asinine. Where do you think Prussia went, Twitch chat? Do you think it just vanished off the map? Like all the Germans in Prussia were just like, we're going on vacation now.
we shall prevail. We have eternity. We are dead much longer than we are alive.
What do you think happened to the Rhineland? Twitch chat. You think all the Germans in the Rhineland just like, we feel like leaving now?
I cling to life by the thinnest thread.
Tower's a bit hard to take, Twitch chat. It's being defended by Kled.
to delay the
Shit. That Q was really well timed by him. Nothing happened to the Rhineland. It's interesting. So... You're telling me that modern day Czech Republic just has a shitload of Germans in it? I think in the right. I think I might. No. Deadass Stalin was quite possibly one of the worst human beings in existence. Yet for some reason Hitler. Yes, Sudetenland. I was saying the wrong thing. Hold up here. I'm reading this. Yet for some reason Hitler. Chat message scrolled up. Yeah, for some reason Hitler's talked about is it like he's the ultimate evil because he is. What? Hitler had much less time to work with than Stalin. Stalin was in there for fucking decades. There's a I don't... And why are you turning this into a contest anyway? What is this, some like, well, Hitler wasn't so bad meme?
Some of these I know well. What's one more grave? A little longer, friend, then rest. The constant wailing of souls in torment.
Because Hitler was bad, but Stalin is worse. He killed many times more people than Hitler. Who gives a shit? Who brought that up at all? What, do you just like run around at parties? Yeah, well, Hitler was bad, but that Stalin guy, he was worse. Everyone else is sitting there like, who invited the Nazi? Why? Who invited the Nazi to my party?
An unholy mark upon it.
Thank you, peaceful AI.
I remember when I put them in the ground.
Okay, without talking about numbers and crying about my Holocaust to 6 Gojurian. Why was Hitler more evil? Oh shit, Hitler just got you banned from my chat.
Not to be
God damn it, Hitler.
I still draw. Do you hear that?
Kind of annoying how shit the maiden AI is. Oh well. Now he runs along to his Nazi friends and is like, the Jews got me banned from Hashinshin's chat. I was just making a perfectly normal comment that Stalin is worse than Hitler, which everyone was talking about before I mentioned it, and then suddenly I was banned. Okay. Really wish he kept pushing mid, but alright. This Dance Rush doesn't seem to really do anything. Hello, Cat Life. How you doing? Why is that even brought up? I don't get it. I don't understand why that's even brought up. We're talking about like post World War I France and how its economy was devastated by war, and you're like, Stalin was worse than Hitler. This might have been a mistake.
Aced.
Yeah, no, this homeless plumber guy's got it exactly. It's like when someone mentions, let me read this comment. It's like when someone mentions race crime statistics out of nowhere and then gets mad when people call them racist. What?
Why do you persist?
Because I must. The beyond is waiting. Strive to meet it.
You okay?
I am the first and last of my order. They will greet you as heroes.
To be honest, I think that was worth it. I was gonna die anyway because their entire team was chasing me. I like how I have to peel Sivir when I ran in, dismounted Kled. Okay, I ran in, dismounted Kled, forced Ezreal out of the fight, ate all the Karma CC, and killed Yasuo. So who was left? Kindred?
I go wherever souls are adrift.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
What's one more grave? I shall perform your...
Ooh boy.
It is for you.
Guys, if you are unironically continuing the conversation and say things like, let me read this guy's message. Yeah, except our entire modern morality. Okay, I was not expecting to suddenly get 5-man. Yeah, except our entire modern morality in the West is based on evil Nazis, but nobody talks about the consequences of believing in equality and communism. Holy shit, that was a retarded comment. Holy shit. I honestly didn't even read the entire thing until I read it out loud. The evils of believing in equality and communism?
An enemy has been slain.
Huh, it's like the one time Kled ult has been useful this game.
Hallowed or profane, I no longer know.
Where do all these alt-right Nazi apologist fucks come from? They sit here and chat, and they wait, and they wait. See, I feel like a lot of people don't understand what I say when a lot of things are like alt-right, but I feel like if people streamed more like me and kind of watched people be like this, they'd quickly understand.
These souls act on the What's one more grave? Even your kind will join them. I shall perform your rites.
Oh shit, Twitch chat, the enlightened centrists have come? Enlightened centrists, please enlighten us on how having no opinion is better somehow.
The dead shall forgive me, I hope.
If even South Park is starting to no longer like tout the enlightened centrism statement anymore, I feel like it's kind of becoming a dead concept. South Park used to be the enlightened centrism, and even they are like, maybe it's kind of a shitty mindset actually. Fuck it. Okay, I thought that fight was going a bit better. Oh well. Enlightened centrism? Okay. Enlightened centrism is a belief that having no opinion somehow makes you better. An enlightened centrist says something like, oh, I didn't vote because both parties were terrible. So I didn't vote because I don't care. Well, first off, that does kind of make you bad unless you actually legitimately don't care. That doesn't make you an enlightened centrist. That just means you don't care. An enlightened centrist actively puts time into basically being the opposite of having a belief because they believe that the idea of having a belief makes you silly. The best example of this is South Park. South Park for years were the most enlightened centrists on the fucking planet. Think of South Park. Think of how everything they did, they wouldn't like get an opinion. They would just make fun of other people for having an opinion.